Hey friendos, welcome back to the Four Lights Podcast. I am, as always, Steve here, joined today, as always, by Big Jeff. How are you doing?
Good, how you doing?
Awesome, I'm doing great. We're going to talk today about Datalore, an episode that allowed Brent Spiner to sort of get out of his... It's always fun. It is always fun when they let Brent Spiner not be Data.
Yeah.
Because he has such an expressive face that is magnified because we don't really see him express it that often.
Yeah.
He doesn't really get to utilize what great facial expressions he can bring to the table. And so it magnifies it whenever he gets to do something away from the Data character, whether it's he's inhabited by somebody else or I think, let's see here.
Something takes him over.
Something takes him over. Yeah. He like gets the emotion chip for that one episode when he got to portray Dr. Noonien Soong. And of course, in this episode, when we're introduced to his brother Lore,
yes.
I really enjoyed this episode. I thought it was
Great.
It was a lot of fun.
Another Rob Bowman episode.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. The episode kicks off with the Enterprise heading to the Omicron Theta system, which has the planet where Data was found by a Starfleet crew.
26 years prior.
26 years prior.
Yeah.
Data is not on the bridge as they're approaching the planet. Picard and Data and Riker are sort of waxing over that, and they're saying, well, you know, he said he wanted to be alone. Maybe this is a big moment for him.
Yeah.
Cut to what Data is actually doing, and the reason he wanted to be alone is because he was practicing his sneezing.
He's trying to teach himself how to sneeze.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
In an attempt at, I mean, a lot of what Data does is just to try to look or affect more human. So.
Right, exactly, yeah. And so it's a funny moment. I mean,
Sure,
it's a little comic moment. Wes goes to see him, and he's like, yeah, what are you doing? He's like, I'm trying to sneeze. And he talks about, his feelings on his homecoming a little bit. This is a big moment for me. And he says, anyways, Picard wants you on the bridge. Data, when he gets to the bridge, sort of looks at the planets in view. He sort of soaks it in. Gets a little self-conscious and goes back and hangs out with Picard and Riker. Riker even gives him the opportunity to sort of put them in orbit. And he says, no, I'm good. Just do everything you're doing. It's funny because he has like the same insecurities apparently that humans have. I like those little moments, those are cool. Anyways, it's also revealed before the episode really kicks off that Data possesses the memories in a way of the inhabitants of the colony. They sort of uploaded like their logs and journals.
It's like they uploaded all the because he specified. I think it's Yar asked him, "Oh, you have the memories of all 411 colonists." And he's like, "No, not every life experience, but I have the sum of all of their knowledge." So like just facts. I think it's just straight up like whatever they learned in life that could be like a concrete fact that somehow distilled into information and was uploaded into Data.
Right. So anyways, at the very end of the stinger, I guess it is. No, the stinger. What do we call this?
Opener?
The opener? The opening?
Cold open?
The cold open. There you go. Picard offers Data a nice welcome home.
Yeah.
That was cute. Anyways, as the episode kicks off, they arrive. They beam down to the planet. It is completely dead. No living animals, no vegetation. Even the soil has no bacteria in it. It is completely stripped of life. Data, however, does recognize where they are from the sort of temporal map of the planet that he has in his head. Not temporal, the topographical.
Topographical.
Word I was looking for. Anyways, they venture over to where Data was found 26 years earlier. Geordi using his visor, and they sort of walk down some steps, and there's kind of a flat, almost I'm not gonna say a shrine, but there's sort of an elevated bed type thing.
Platform,
yeah, where Data was apparently when he was
found. When they found him, it was like almost like it looked like it would be up where a cave would be.
Right. Yeah.
Geordi's looking around with his visor, and he sees something in the rocks, in the rock formation. He's like, "Wait a second, this looks natural, but it's not." I see a crack here. I think there's a doorway. And Geordi figures it out, and he opens a door into the mountain.
Yeah. And it's sort of like a bunker type facility, sort of like a larger bunker type facility. They investigate a little bit. Data then talks a little bit about his creator, Dr. Noonien Soong, and that triggers everybody saying, whoa, Dr. Soong, everybody knows him. He was like Earth's foremost scientist on cybernetics, and he wanted to tell everybody, or he was trying to prove that a positronic brain could be created, and he failed miserably.
Yeah.
And they put the steps together. It is interesting, though. It's kind of odd that this info wasn't known before.
So I was trying to figure out why that was, and I know that Data makes a comment like, "Oh, this is sort of knocked loose a memory file that I wasn't aware of before." So I think maybe that stuff. Maybe Data didn't know that stuff when he got rescued 26 years prior, and has gone through Starfleet without knowing that things or being conscious of them, and also because of that, not able to relay them to Starfleet or wherever. So
I
think maybe once he was back in that space, then he was like, something. "Oh, I was created by Dr. Noonien."
Yeah, that could be. Yeah. You kind of get the feeling that, especially with how quick, and I mean, obviously some of it is just the writers obviously took to Data's journey over the course of the series.
Yeah.
However, his growth throughout the 7 years he's on Next Generation seems to betray the idea that he didn't have a ton of growth. I mean, you got to figure 4 years in Starfleet. I think he illustrates in this episode when he's talking to Lore. He does 4 years in Starfleet, 3 years, I think, as an ensign, 12 to 15 years in the lieutenant grade, to get to where he was. And it really I wonder if, like, were people just dicks to him? Were people not curious about Data?
You see that throughout the show, dealing with people kind of being a dick to him, like, "Oh, you're just a machine. I don't need to interact with you. I don't need to show you respect." So, and he's on the Enterprise at this point. So, as being on the flagship of the Starfleet, and he deals with it a couple times, and being a lieutenant commander, essentially being the third officer in charge, or the third in command, and still having to deal with people being dicks to him. Like, he must have really had to deal with it a lot. Yeah. When he was coming up in Starfleet and as an ensign, so.
Yeah, and it kind of illustrates how, I mean, I really doubt they sort of put all that together, but it's fun to speculate anyways. The idea that Picard chose him because I would think that Picard, number one, would have had, I think he said it before, he had his picks of officers to be his second in command. Sure. I would think he would have had his choice of third in commands too, because that's what Data is. Yeah. He's essentially the third in command. And so I would have figured that it was Picard's option to have him on board. So, I mean, it kind of illustrates, Picard and, the sort of, and on top of that, he has a Klingon in his ship. Yeah. Sort of the open-mindedness that he has going into forming his crew for the flagship of Starfleet. Yeah. In any event, let's see, where were we? They talk about Noonien Soong.
Yeah, they find the lab of Noonien Soong. Mm-hmm. And they're looking around. It's a pretty straightforward lab. There are some drawings on the wall that they notice. They're clearly kids' drawings. But they're all sort of depicting the same thing, like crowds of people that seem to be panicked. Yeah. And some sort of like weird, almost tree-like chaotic structure in the sky.
Yeah, so, it's like really freaky kids' drawings. Data, meanwhile, finds the mold for his face. Yeah. He puts on and shows everybody.
Like a plastic mold. Yeah. And he like puts it in. It's a total match for his face.
Yeah. Geordi then finds sort of a hidden storage area where they find another Data. Yep. They find like a bunch of pieces of Data, specifically another Data head. Cut back to, we are on the Enterprise. Chief Argyle makes another appearance, and it's his last
final appearance. Yeah. It's the final appearance of the show of Engineering Chief Argyle.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if he's in any of those like novels. Anyways, he's helping to put the fake Data back together. He's cautiously optimistic. Everybody's sort of walking on eggshells around Data because they're kind of like, in order for us to do this, we're going to have to dig into you to understand it. And obviously it's like they've all come to accept Data as one of them. Yeah. And so they want to be sensitive about the fact that we need to dig into your guts.
So the implication with this episode is that there has not been much, if any, scientific exploration or examination of Data.
They don't understand that he's got a positronic brain.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah. Because and they make several pointed comments about that, like, "Oh, Noonien Soong left Earth in shame for trying to make a positronic brain, never made it work." Data and Lore both have positronic brains. It comes out in the course of the show. Yeah. So the fact that Data's been in Starfleet for more than 2 decades, or is rescued for more than 2 decades, and has been in Starfleet for about 2 decades, and they have no clue that he actually has an actual functioning Asimov positronic net for a brain. Kind of clearly shows that they just haven't, popped the hood open, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
And they are very delicate about it throughout, when they're like, oh, if we put this other data together, we need to like figure out how you work too. So,
and Picard has to Picard eventually sort of shuts down all the queasiness over this a little bit.
Yeah, I
later.
mean they're starting to try to put lore together. Data goes to meet with Picard and Geordi. Right?
Yeah. Let's see. So after that. After that, Data rolls into a meeting with Riker, Geordi, and Picard.
Yes.
They all sort of dance around their questions.
Very awkward. Like Picard literally uses the word awkward in describing the initial discussions.
Yeah.
Because they're all like, oh, how do we put this other data together?
Yeah.
We don't know how the main data works.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do?
And
dear. It's a lot of like,
you might need to open your head up and
and at some point Picard just shuts it down and is like, listen, let's just put it on the table. Data is a machine.
Yeah.
We're machines too. We're biochemical machines. Data's a mechanical, some sort of mechanical machine that we don't fully understand. This other data is also a machine. We'll figure this out, and let's not be so hindered and censored ourselves in our discussions, because it's going to be counterproductive.
Yeah.
So,
Riker has a big smile on his face, like, oh, Dad just made us feel better.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. Anyways, before they really get too deep in anything else, Crusher calls. Like, she had literally just said, maybe later on we're going to need you. And
it's been like 6 minutes. She probably shouldn't have let Data leave, to be honest.
So anyway, she calls, says, hey, we need your help. Back there with Crusher, Data sort of pulls Crusher aside and says, hey, I have an on-off switch.
Yeah.
It's in my back. Touch my back and you'll feel it. And he even sort of says, ooh. And she's like, what are these little nodes right here? He says, it's an android alarm clock. Isn't that funny? And she's like, no, it's not funny. He's like, oh, well, anyways, that, it dictates how long I'm turned off when you hit those. And she's like, okay. And he's like, I don't want anybody to know this, because, I don't want anybody knowing that I have an off switch.
Yeah, sure, that's fair.
I got you, buddy. Anyways, let's see here. So then they do sort of a side by side. They have Data laid down on one bed, Lore laid down on another bed, and they're sort of looking at Data to see what they need to do to activate Lore.
Yeah.
They get that done. Picard is there, and he's like, yeah, I wonder which one was made first. Lore opens his eyes and said, Data was, but he wasn't. He was too imperfect. No, wait, no. Lore says I was made first. No, he says Data was made first.
He says Data was made first.
Found to be
imperfect.
So they replaced him.
Which is straight up a lie.
Yeah, total lie.
Laura wakes up and immediately starts lying.
Right. We don't find out that that's a lie until much later, though,
True.
right? The Soong episode.
A bit later.
Yeah.
No. Later in this episode. Yeah.
Okay. He says, you may call me Lore. So anyways, we cut to Picard and Data. They're discussing Lore in the ready room. Data basically, Picard kind of dances around it, but Data says, look, I am loyal to you. I am loyal to Starfleet. I know that I'm related to this guy, but that's where my loyalties are. And Picard says, I never really needed to ask that question. I knew you were good. Meanwhile, they leave the ready room, and Lore is in Data's chair on the bridge, and they're sort of teaching him how the Enterprise maneuvers through space. Lore has a really hard time hiding the fact that he is uber prick.
Yeah.
He's an asshole.
Sure.
And Brent Spiner does a magnificent job sort of, dropping hints, sort of through non-verbally, like through his facial,
Brent Spiner in the character of Lore is very subtly menacing. Mm-hmm. Every time he's in that character.
Yeah.
He really is. It's a marked change from Data. Mm-hmm. It's really satisfying.
And it's fantastic because it's like the same exact makeup.
Yeah.
The same exact, but you can tell.
Yeah.
He does such a great job with it.
Yeah.
Lore even says, he tells, so there's actually some really good split screen work too. They're walking down the hallway, and the difference of like the matte technique that they have to use, where they essentially split the shot into two, like it's razor thin because man, they're kind of, I don't know, it's one of those production technical things that you sort of pay attention to. It's like, okay, well, how are they doing this shot? And it's really, really well done. There's like not a lot of awkwardness here. There is one bit though when they get off the turbo lift and they're walking away from the camera, and the guy that Data's with, who's supposed to be Lore, obviously, like even from behind, his head is weird shaped compared to Data's. It's like obviously.
So I mean, if it's a still shot, it's easy to do a 1 and a 2 because they shot Next Generation on film. So they're essentially exposing half of the film with one pass, and then the next pass they block that out and they film the other half of the film. Or they do it together. They put it together in post later. Either way. Because you're filming them separate times, you can have the same actor in both frames. Because it's a still shot and you don't have a moving camera, that's pretty easy to do. With a moving shot at this point in time, it'd be next to impossible. So for the tracking shot that they do, to have 2 shots of Brent Spiner from behind with the tracking camera behind them in a hallway would be very challenging.
Big time.
And incredibly expensive to do at that time in the late 80s. So they have a double stand-in for Brent Spiner, because it's a behind shot, you don't see his face, but the double is just not physically like Brent Spiner much at all. And has like a weird wig on, and it's a little distracting, but still. In any event, they end up talking, but they go back to Data's room. They're talking about Nooney and Soong. Laura's calling humans limited. He kind of exposes himself a bit here. You know, maybe trusting that Data, you know, will sort of see his way. And he's essentially saying that he said Lore lived with the colonists until they... Oh, here it is. Lore lived with the colonists until they petitioned Soong to make a less perfect android. Lore rubs it in how better at being human he is than Data. Lore is just being super shady right here, and Data's like, you know, I got to tell Picard all this stuff. You should probably tell him too. At this point, Data really should have appealed to Picard and said, we need to shut him down right now. This is like, he is... To have an android who possesses superhuman abilities physically is smarter than everybody. That's super dangerous. We saw, I mean, because we see like seasons later during the Dr. Soong episode, when Soong flips that switch and Data takes over the ship with ease, with absolute ease. So they probably really should have shut Lore down pretty quickly after activating him. In any event, Data leaves, and Lore just sort of starts sucking in all the knowledge he can from the computer database. So that's creepy. Let's see here. We're coming back from like commercial break. Picard in his log is talking about the crystalline entity, this thing that they believe exists based on a number of things, including those creepy kids drawings. Yard brings up the idea of, you know, can we trust Data? She says, this is strictly from a security perspective. Can we actually trust him now? Which sort of everybody turns their heads like, dude, really? Well, it's interesting that Yara brought that up, considering she's the only person ever to be, at least in the course of the show, really, to be intimate with Data. To have that kind of intimate relationship.
Picard says, yeah, we can totally do that, but that's a good question, everybody. Don't think that she's an asshole. Lore is back in Data's room experimenting with roofies, evidently. He's got like a champagne glass.
They check in on Lore, like they're like, hey computer, what's Lore's position? And the computer's like, oh, he just accessed some information and he went to this lab and got this like solvent or something like that. And everybody looks at Data, and Data's just like, that's not a big deal. That's the equivalent of one of you looking up, going to medical bay and getting an antiseptic. Like Data's like, I know what that solvent solution, whatever it was, is. It's something that I would use for a certain specific function of my mechanical existence. That's probably what Lore needs it for. So he's like, it's cool. Don't worry about it. Back in Data's quarters, Lore has that solution and a bottle and 2 glasses of champagne. So yeah, he's experimenting with roofies. He's like, I'm gonna use this.
This was kind of cool though, because Data comes in, and Laura's like, you know, hey, champagne, toasting, it's a very human thing.
Human custom.
Let's practice. Now, a very subtle part of this shot was Lore, I'm pretty sure, holding the champagne glass, putting it down, And then because they're both Spiner's in both shot or is in the shot. It's a split screen shot.
Yeah.
He puts the champagne with the roofies in it down, puts his hand away. Data goes and picks it up.
Yeah.
I didn't notice if the cup dipped out of frame at the bottom. I'm pretty sure it had to have.
I think it did, yeah.
In order for this to
Spiner
work.
was picking up a different cup.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
But it was really like it's a subtle thing that I think subconsciously makes people think, oh, like there's nothing weird going on here.
No,
I love that
really,
kind of stuff.
shot.
It's really good. So anyways, Data doesn't really think anything weird about it, drinks it, and immediately starts to notice its effects. He is incapacitated.
He gets knocked out.
Lore then toasts the crystalline entity. He says, I learned to communicate with it. And he's doing the villain plan thing, spilling his guts about it. He says he basically betrayed the colonists by giving them up. He says, imagine what benefit it'll be for me to give up, the enterprise to the crystalline entity. Worf on the bridge notices Data is sending out some subspace signals, and they send West to go check it out. He goes in there, finds who he thinks or it's Data. He's on the ground, passed out, but Lore has dressed up like Data and has dressed up Data like
Lore.
Like Lore, exactly. So he said, I had to put Lore down. Wes is immediately kind of, I guess he believes it, but I think there's a seed of doubt.
He's a little bit incredulous.
Yeah, there's a little seed of doubt there because, like, for one thing, Data, he has Lore's facial tick. Because Lore has a facial tick.
And Lore pretending to be Data, is like, oh, I've been trying to do Lore's facial tick. How is it?
And Wes is like, you probably don't want to do that.
Don't do that. Yeah,
they're gonna think weird things, which I already do. So, anyways, Crusher asks Wesley about Data. At that point, does Wes make he mentions the off switch thing? Because then Lore shows up on the bridge and Crusher's like, hey, why did you tell Wes about the off switch? Was that what something was said about that?
Yeah, I don't know how he learned about the off switch. I don't remember.
I forget. Anyways, the crystalline entity shows up on the view screen. They encounter it. Lore immediately says, ooh, that's beautiful. Like, dude, you're in character. You need to probably stay that way. Because Wes turns around and is like, oh, fuck, that's totally Lore.
That is the point where Wes figures out that Lore is faking faking Data.
We come back from commercial. They encounter the entity. Geordi had been sent during the commercial break to the window again. Yeah. Because he comes in and Picard's like, what did you see? And he's like, can't really figure it out, man. He's like, sending me to the window is only going to do so good. Okay, it's only going to do so much. Wes stands up, and the sentiment is there, but I feel like Wes. This is a lot with Wes. He's got good intentions, and 99% of the time he's right about what's going on, but he approaches it in just a terrible manner. You would have figured, like ages ago, they would have figured out that, okay, Wes, I know that you're acting in a way that's completely inappropriate, but you're probably right about what you're saying, so just let us know what you're talking about. He stands up and says, don't let him roam the ship. Picard immediately yells at Wes, and Riker and Wes go to Data's room because they want to go check on Lore, along with Lore, who's acting like Data. Lore's on the ground. Lore goes down there and sort of sticks his hand on Data's off switch and starts just jacking with it to make Data sort of start, having these compulsions. Or convulsions, right?
Convulsions, yeah.
And he says, yeah, he senses you. You guys need to leave. Get out of here. And then they're like, okay, we'll leave. And then Lore looks down at Data and says, you want to be as stupid as them, dear brother? And then starts kicking him in the head.
Kicks his face, yeah. Kicks his face a couple times, really viciously.
And it opens up like a panel on Data's head.
Yeah.
It's pretty brutal. After that, Riker tells Picard what happens, just sort of exactly what happens, doesn't question any of it. Wes stands up, contradicts that. He draws Picard's ire. Let's see here. The entity then attacks the ship. Lore asks Picard to talk to it, and Picard's like, "Wait, you can do that? I didn't know you could do that." And he's like, and then the ship buckles again, and he says, "Okay, just do it."
Yeah.
Then so he does.
He does, and
says,
the crystalline entity backs off.
Yeah, because he's like, "These people are way stronger than you." Crystalline entity backs off. Lore then tells Picard, "We should give them a demonstration of our strength. We should materialize a tree in the cargo bay and then transport it
out into open space, I guess sort of adjacent to the crystalline entity.
and then
right?
destroy
And
it
then
with our
destroy it?
phasers. And it's like, well, it's a tree. All you need really is an axe. Like, it's not really going to do... It's a really stupid
weird plan that for some reason they're like, okay, cool, Data, go for it.
Yeah. At that point...
but he also, like... he drops out of character a couple places right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sort of noticed, like, he calls... Instead of saying Commander to Riker, he just calls him Riker, which is weird.
Yeah.
And then...
Should have called him Bill.
Ha! And then Picard says, make it so,
Mm-hmm.
which is already establishes Picard's... That's affirmative. Go ahead and make it happen. And Lore, as Data, is like, what?
What did you say? Make it so what?
What is that?
Make
I don't
what
know what
so?
that means.
Make
what?
Sewing? What is
I gotta
that?
sew something?
What are you
I
talking
don't have a
about?
needle.
Like a quilt? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And Picard's like,
do it. Just do it.
Do it,
Yeah.
man.
I say make it so. Well, it's my thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing my thing.
And that sort of clues in Picard as well.
Yeah.
He says, Worf, go take a security, go with him and see what he's going to do. Well, that leads to them walking to the turbo lift, and to ensure he's not hindered by security, Lore drags Worf into the turbo lift with him, locks everybody else out, and then beats the shit out of Worf.
Yeah, it really kicks his ass.
And it's great because he taunts him at first, too. He's like, let's see that Klingon strength. And then Worf, he grabs his phaser, he's about to blast him in the head with it. Lore, like, punches it away.
That's a phaser.
And then chest punches Worf.
Well, Worf does get one hit in, right? Doesn't
Yeah, he gets one hit in. Lore no-sells it.
Yes.
And
Lore
then-
chest
yeah.
punches him, which doubles over Worf. But then he stands up with like a horny Klingon. Oh, this is going to be a good fight. Look. Like he's really into it.
Yeah.
And then Lore just knocks him the fuck out.
He one punches
Yeah.
him. Yeah, exactly. I think he backfists him or backhands him. So after that, we're back on the bridge. Wesley pipes up a couple times. He says, "Sir, that's Lore. It's totally Lore." And Picard's like, "Dude, shut up." And so Wesley sits back down. Crusher's like, "Dude, you just tell him to shut up."
Yep.
Wes pipes back up, and he's like, "I know I'm pretty much done as a bridge officer at this point, but I feel the need to say." And then Crusher says, "Shut up, Wes."
Yeah.
Good little comedic moment. And then they start talking again, and then Wes pipes up one last time. He stands up, and he's like, "I just want to say that." And then Picard's like,
Picard's really pissed off.
he's really pissed off, and then Wes finishes his thought, which is whatever. And then he says, so permission to leave the bridge and just go to my quarters now?" And Picard says, "Yeah, it's a good idea. Crusher, go with him." And she's like, "You're kicking me off the bridge?" And he goes, "You're his mom. Just be with him, okay? Be cool."
It's a real dick move on Picard's part.
It really is.
It's a shitty thing to be like, why don't you go be a mother?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, why don't you pay attention to your shitty kid?
It's like,
why don't you
Picard,
learn how to raise a kid?
you're trusting this kid to be a bridge member, and like you're schoolboying him basically.
Totally.
You're big dogging him and his mom. So anyways, but you can tell Picard, like, he was just in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, sure.
So anyways, so instead of actually going to his room, they go to Wes convinces Crusher, his mom, to go to Data's room instead. They see Data there on the ground, and then Wes says, "Mom, I heard that you know how to turn him on," which
That's a weird statement to hear. Mom, I heard you know how to turn him on. That's kind of gross.
she's like, "Yes, son." Anyway, she does turn Data on, and he's like, "Oh, dude, we need to go get Lore." Data, Crusher, and Wes all go to the cargo bay, where Lore sort of takes over the situation. It's a really ill-advised move that they pull because, like, Crusher immediately should have just phased the shit out of him. Honestly, just to avoid any sort of confusion, she should have phased the shit out of both Lore and Data.
Yeah.
Because who knows which one's which. And she should have been like, "We're just going to do this now. Boom, boom, and you're both done." But instead, Lore is able to sort of take command of the situation. He trains a phaser at Wesley and then says, "Crusher, if you don't get out of here in 5 seconds, I'm going to make this hurt." Meaning he's going to blast Wesley and incinerate him.
Yeah.
As she's leaving and he's counting to 5, and Data's like, "I got this, just go." She's leaving. Laura says, "Oh, hey, by the way," zap, and blasts.
Shoots her in the arm as she's turned around and running away.
And it catches fire.
Yeah, and her arm's on fire when you see her running away, which is hilarious. Like,
Yeah. Like,
Usually, like a phaser
shouldn't be funny, but it is.
No, it's very funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's sort of antithetical to how they depict phaser blasts.
Right,
Usually,
yeah.
But at the initial part of the show, and actually in an old show, a phaser wasn't supposed to be just a gun.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to be a tool. They use it for like welding and stuff too.
Oh yeah.
So it does have different settings.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, presumably it would be like maybe like a heat beam setting that you blasted her arm and just caught her sleeve on fire. So that's
Right.
possible.
Yeah.
But usually the way that you see phasers working is like, oh, set it on stun and you blast somebody and it blows their whole, like, their torso lights up and then they get knocked out. You know, like that's usually how it's shown.
Yeah.
Or if it's on like maximum setting, they'll blast somebody and they'll literally disintegrate, which is kind of terrifying.
And amazing.
This is an atypical display of phaser capabilities.
Yeah.
To see somebody on fire. It's not a big fire. It's like a little fire.
A little tiny flame on the sleeve. It's fine. Anyways, there's a great fight scene between Data and Lore in the cargo bay. And it's
like
really
throwing barrels at each other and doing crazy stuff like that.
And there's a great little climax to it. Lore rushes Data, who then uses his like sort of speed to like twist him, and he throws him onto the transporter pad just as Lore is about to blast his phaser. And in fact, he gets it off, but right when he does that, Data says, "West now!"
Wesley hits the transporter, and maybe like 2 or 3 feet of a phaser beam and Lore are transported somewhere. Wesley doesn't specify.
Yeah, just not there, so they're off the ship now. So, yeah, at that point, Picard and Riker show up. Picard says, "Data, are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm good." And he says, "All right, well, fix that damn twitch ears and go put on a normal uniform."
Yeah.
Which is his nice, tough love dad way of saying, "Oh, I'm glad you're good."
Wes says Lore is gone permanently.
Yeah. Not actually true, but, I mean, if they really wanted to, they could have just been like, find Lore and blast him to smithereens.
Do you remember off the top of your head what happened? I think that Wes beamed him onto the crystalline entity, right? And then that flies away or something? Is that what goes on? Like Wes thought that he was just beamed him out into space or something?
I thought he just beamed him out into space. I know that Lore came across a ship of Pakleds. That's how he ended up coming back. Yeah. He said, "I was just floating in space." I thought he said I was floating in space.
So Wes beams him into space.
Yeah, he beams him into space.
Okay.
Yeah. But I don't know if he beamed him like with the crystalline entity or just floating in space.
Yeah.
I don't know which one it was. I know he says it in the next episode we see him, so we'll find out then. Be a couple months. Let's see here. Picard asks Riker if... Oh, yeah. This is a weird punchline to the episode. So everything's resolved. Picard and Riker are leaving. And I kind of like... So this group of episodes that we're filming for today... How a real buddy-buddy relationship is developed between Riker and Picard.
Yeah.
They have a ton of buddy-buddy moments. And this is one of them, and it's one of the more bizarre ones. They're leaving the cargo bay, and Picard says, "Riker, do you ever wonder if Data is more or less human than the rest of us?" And Riker says, "I don't know. I just wish we were all as well balanced." And Picard says, "Agreed!" And then they leave, and that's it.
As an exchange, it really doesn't make much sense.
No, it doesn't at all. What does that mean? I wish we were as well balanced as the android.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. In any event, that was the episode. It was a fun introduction to Lore.
Yeah. I mean, Lore goes on to be a really good character.
Yeah, no, he does.
It's fun to see Brent Spiner portray him.
Yeah, it really is.
He does a lot of subtle differences. He does a lot of overt differences. Like the twitch is pretty overt, but the fact that Lore uses contractions as opposed to Data, his whole manner of speaking and manner of being is pretty different in various ways, and it's fun.
Yeah, and we do see the crystalline entity one more time.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, we do. It's a good one because Riker has to mourn this chick who died. And then we see Lore a couple more times in really good episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah. In any event. That's the episode. Let us know what you guys think of the episode in the comments. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.